Atlus cooked hard with this one. As Studio Zero's first original release, Metaphor ReFantazio stands as not only one of Atlus's best JRPGs, but one of the best JRPGs out there, period. Best of all, the game is available now, along with a free demo of the game's prologue if you'd like to give Atlus's newest JRPG a shot before committing to the full game. Big thanks to Sega and Atlus for providing me a code to play the game ahead of its launch, and while many of you are out there likely celebrating the launch of this epic, let me join you all in the festivities, and try to convince those on the fence to dip into the good stuff as we go over why this game is so great. Also, I'd be remiss to say that much of my audience who enjoys Atlus games are very much into the Shin Megami Tensei and especially Persona series, so while this video is about Metaphor ReFantazio and why you deserve to treat yourself to its greatness, it will be impossible not to address both its differences and similarities to its sibling franchises, as their DNA is all over this game. Also, this title is absolutely enormous, so while I won't touch up on absolutely everything the game has to offer, do know that I will go over the basics here and the general flow of the title after the prologue has been completed. For the sake of preserving as much of this game to you as possible, gameplay footage of the first few hours after the demo ends will be displayed here to give you a better idea of what Metaphor is like once the game really starts to get going. Because, oh boy, the game really starts to get going. It also goes without saying, absolutely no spoilers going forward as well. Yes, the critics are right. Metaphor is a must-play JRPG, so let's dive into what makes it so special and how this game expertly taps into decades of experience making turn-based, character-driven epics and evolves it into one fantastical adventure that will be talked about for time to come. Metaphor ReFantazio marks Studio Zero's first original title, and as a game helmed by an all-star cast of developers who worked on the last several mainline Persona titles, this new game had, let's say, a lot to live up to. Production on Metaphor began back in 2016, shortly after Persona 5 launched in Japan, with the name Project ReFantasy being the codename for what ultimately would become 2024's Metaphor ReFantazio. This game is bold. Gone are the high schools, the teachers reminding you about an upcoming midterm exam, the twisty dungeons, the demon collecting, and the teenage romance, and in its stead is a massive world whose protagonist must venture from city to city, small town to small town, and dungeon to dungeon, recruiting allies along the way, forging lasting bonds, and striking down all manner of foes, all in an effort to steer an upcoming election closer to an ideal world where all people may live peacefully and coexist in harmony. That's a mouthful, I know, but unlike many of the games that much of Studio Zero's star-studded staff worked on in the past, it's the massive fantastical setting here and the bold move to shift away from high school life that really makes Metaphor ReFantazio shine. Persona has excelled at telling deep stories with incredibly relatable characters, and this is no different here, except that its political narrative and sprawling world design make for a decidedly different JRPG where this land's inhabitants are all playing a role in what could only be called as a race to secure the fate of the nation. It's every bit as gripping as Atlus's other JRPG masterpieces, from its characters and themes to its sprawling world, and in this world, Metaphor really shines when it comes to player freedom and how you choose to use your time. Take your time. You'll likely remember this and why it's stated in the loading screens if you've played Persona 5, and here in Metaphor ReFantazio, it still very much applies. The game's prologue, as you may have played in the free demo, introduces a bit of that freedom of choice and exploration within Grand Trad. Here, we find our protagonists amidst a crisis. With the king of the land slain and with no rightful heir to the throne, it's a race against time to elect someone, perhaps anyone but the deceitfully powerful Louise, to become the new leader. Among the division and unprecedented danger in Uchronia, we are tasked to travel the lands to make a name for ourselves, to be elected to hopefully enact the contents within this banned book about peace and equality in what could only be interpreted as a far-fetched fantasy. This game gives you that time. Sure, in Persona, you could spend time with friends and acquaintances, tackle dungeons, and pass the time by working on your personality traits. And while all of that very well still applies here in Metaphor, the game goes the extra mile by vastly expanding upon available activities by populating the world with meaningful content to entice you. This is immediately felt in the game's side quests, where tackling these quests opens potential new followers to obtain, unique and powerful equipment to wield, and least of all, entirely new dungeons to explore. And we're talking big freaking dungeons here. The main dungeons required to progress the main narrative are no slouch here, and can even be returned to at later dates that lay host to entirely unique side quests as well, that significantly expand upon these existing dungeons. From ancient burial grounds to intimidating castles, and even inside the belly of a giant sandworm. There's so much going on with the main dungeons here, each with their own unique theme and mechanic, like the sandworm's time limit to manage as you battle your way through. Let alone each region also has unique weather that you must contend with, buffing enemies in the process while also allowing you to get more EXP as a result. But let's focus on the optional dungeons for a moment. From forested labyrinths to menacing caves, vast open desert plains to cryptic tombs, the sheer vastness of the optional dungeons here is made possible due to this shift away from one primary location and greatly expanding the available real estate. That's right, instead of interacting with one sole city or small town, we've got several of them, all within an entire country's worth of land. The vastness of Ukrainia is, without a doubt, one of the stars here in Metaphor ReFantazio, as this country essentially contains within 3 distinct territories in one, each sporting various biomes and climates that run the gamut of vast desert wastes to bucolic countryside to rolling hills, all the way to laid-back beachside enclaves. With entire cities to explore, all laying host to unique side quests, outlying dungeons to battle through, and relationships to forge with diverse populations and cultures, the country of Ukrainia truly feels vast, and Metaphor gives you ample time to see it all, should you choose. We'll circle back to the combat, but let's first discuss travel. Now, how on earth are we supposed to get from one location to another, you may ask? Well, introduce the Gauntlet Runner. This is your means to see the world and also serves as your mobile base, crammed with all the essential activities to make your road trips all the more productive and memorable. This thing's equipped with a command room to help plan your next trek, a lounge to read books, a full kitchen to cook food for long dungeon crawls, observation decks to take in the moving scenery, and more. This is your primary base of operations, and while its cramped living quarters may be tough to adapt to, it quickly feels like home, what with your numerous party members and bombastic driver all living amongst the base. Setting your destination will take anywhere from 1 to several days of time to travel to, but no matter how long your travel may be, the game doesn't stop there. Instead, you're free to roam the runner's cramped halls, partaking in all the activities I previously outlined, including spending time with your loyal companions. Spending time with allies on the Gauntlet Runner expertly merges both the social link-like elements and personality traits into one outing, meaning you'll essentially be able to increase your favor among your allies to be better positioned for a rank up, and you'll also be earning certain values of character trait points, all dictated by the dialogue choices you make during these interactions, essentially killing 2 birds with 1 stone. While these interactions were largely separated in the Persona titles, here in Metaphor they are blended together during many of these non-rank up follower interactions, giving you more time to engage in the various other activities in the game. Everything you do, whether in the Gauntlet Runner, at a dungeon, interacting with a follower, or listening to old fairy tales at a tavern, all contribute to the player benefiting in some sort of way, and this is something that really makes Atlus JRPGs stand out from the rest. Interacting with the followers throughout your journey is essential, because not only will you benefit from increasing your election popularity, but these will open you to brand new battle classes, or archetypes as they're called here. Gone are the personas and demons from Atlus's other games, and in their stead are archetypes, where each follower essentially channels their inner style, or archetype if you will, allowing you to experiment with all manner of classes to try out in battle. From standard classes like the protagonist's jack-of-all-trades seeker archetype to warrior, mage, healer, gunner, merchant archetypes and beyond, They all serve their own unique purpose and can be further evolved should the player meet the requirements to progress them. Hulkenberg's Knight archetype can, for example, evolve to a magic-based knight upon further progression of the archetype, and the best part of these archetypes is that every battle member can utilize each one, unlike how the protagonist of the Persona games could only be given the opportunity to wield multiple personas. It is this customization here, along with mixing and matching skills and abilities from other archetypes, that essentially gives the player endless builds and permutations to battle customization. Speaking of battles, they are fun and rewarding, featuring both real-time battles on the overworld and the traditional turn-based battles Atlus has been known for. Speaking about valuing your time, enemies can go down in one swift strike on the field during real-time combat should you be leveled sufficiently higher than your foes, mitigating the need to enter into the turn-based battles. While the bulk of the battles happen within the turn-based system for foes that are at or above your level, along with boss fights, these fights are immediately familiar to those who have played Persona or Shin Megami Tensei, with the press turn system from the earlier SMT games being present in Metaphor's battles where your allies will need to expend their allotted turns before the enemy can react, and vice versa. The game's side quests do an exceptional job at providing a demanding challenge that I would say is a notch above most of the main scenario fights, and that is essentially why they are so worthwhile should you tackle these quests and optional dungeons. These quests will take you all over the world map, always giving you some new area to explore, new enemies to battle, and most importantly, new gear to obtain. This is an RPG through and through here, and while the incredible amount of choice found within Metaphor ReFantazio may seem daunting at first, considering you've got a calendar system and all, there's no need to worry about missing anything, because director Katsuda Hashino has explained that one can see all the game has to offer with little effort. We didn't want players to feel limited by time, Hashino stated in an interview with Quest Daily. You'll be able to return later to places you visited using a fast travel system, so you can do everything you want without feeling rushed. So yes, there is a fast travel system in Metaphor that can be used at any time should the player have already traveled to the location they want to revisit, even without passing the time. This pertains to every single location, to every interior in a building, to every street or alleyway across the numerous towns and villages, and even the dungeons you've explored. Everything here in Metaphor respects your time as a player, so use it as you see fit because there honestly is no bad option here. For those wondering about being able to max out all relationships in a single playthrough, from some reviews out there, it is entirely possible, even without trying, so don't feel worried about not being able to soak up all the majestic qualities Metaphor has to offer. Metaphor ReFantazio truly is the best of Atlus, and the decades of experience crafting these JRPGs has culminated in easily their most ambitious one yet. By opening up the scale far beyond a singular location to an entire country's worth of content, all diverse in its sites, cultures, and dungeon designs, Atlus has broken free of its high school focused setting and has successfully captured the essence of fantasy within these familiar systems. Its political narrative and constant gas on the pedal, showing you new things around every corner, is an absolute thrill and a break from the norm so successful that not only makes the wait for more upcoming Atlus games more bearable, but also establishes Metaphor ReFantazio as the third pillar to Atlus's impressive JRPG pedigree, standing head and shoulders among the all-time great JRPG franchises that Atlus has given us throughout the decades. I could go on and on about Metaphor and why you should absolutely check it out if you're a fan of RPGs, and especially fans of the Persona series, but I've got better things to do, and that's to leave you with time for you to go out and play this game. It's seriously that good, and stands as one of the greatest modern JRPGs to date. Kudos to the talented people at Studio Zero and Atlus, and kudos to you for making it this far into the video. If you're itching for more Atlus JRPG news, you'll be able to find me over here in this video, but before you leave, let me know if you're interested in picking up the game, and if you have, if you're enjoying it so far. I hope you all enjoy the game, and I'll be seeing you all real soon in the next one.